Would anyone like to hold the item? If so, please raise your hand or unmute your microphone to let me know. Michael Thompson, you're holding the item? Councillor? Thank you.
I am, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. All in favor? Oh, sorry. Our next item is SCY 15.2, 411 Victoria Park Avenue, 2510 and 2530 Gerrard Street East. Official plan amendment, zoning amendment, preliminary report. Ward 20, Councillor Crawford. There is a staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to move staff recommendations, please.
Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hands. Opposed? Carried. Okay. Our
Chair,
next.
I got in.
Good morning, Councillor Lai.
Sorry, my apologies. I have some problem trying
That's
to find
okay.
the body.
Our next item is SC 15.3, 1940 Lawrence Avenue East, zoning amendment application preliminary report. Councillor Thompson, there's a staff report with.
Like to hold that.
You okay with it?
Like to hold it. I have
You
to
okay?
request.
Hold, not a problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is SC 15.4, 1960 Eglinton Avenue East, official plan amendment application preliminary report. Councillor Thompson, there's a staff report with recommendations. Would anyone like to hold this item? If so, please raise your hand or unmute your mic to let me know. Councillor Thompson, you're holding it? Okay, thank you. Our next item is SC 15.5, application to remove a private tree, 20 Shirley Crescent. Councillor Ainsley, we have a speaker register on this item, so I will hold it down. Our next item is SC 15.6, appointment and removal of directors from the Sheppard East Village Business Improvement Area of Management, Ward 23. Councillor Lai. There's a staff report.
Staff recommendation.
All right, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Bear with us, please. I understand that we do have a new item that is coming through us through Councillor McKelvey. Can I have a motion for this item to be added, please, and staff can put it up?
So moved.
Councillor McKelvey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move this item be added to the agenda.
Do you want me to read it, folks, or are we just putting it up right now?
Please, Mr. Chair, read it. I don't know what it is.
So
Okay.
This is to add to the
we
agenda,
go.
and then I'm happy to give you guys more time to read it. This is just requesting that we ask the province to require a traffic study for an organics proposal in Ward 25. I'm just worried that there is no site plan or development application before the City of Toronto right now. So I have no recourse to ask for the traffic assessment, but I'd like the Ministry of the Environment to ask for it now.
I'm supportive. Yeah, I can see the motion now.
Okay.
I'm supportive, Mr. Chair.
Have everybody had an opportunity to read the motion? Okay.
Are we moving it on to the?
Can we consider
Do we have
a-
the vote to move it on the agenda now? We're moving the item itself?
Can we consider the item right now, please? Is everybody in favor?
No problem.
Okay. Nobody opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We're back at item SC. Can I ask for your indulgence? Although we don't have the item SC 15.5, application to remove a private tree at 20 Shirley Crescent. Would it be okay with all of you for us to move that item first, as we do have a speaker on this item, so we don't have to keep the individual online with us? Would that be okay? All right.
I'm okay.
Okay, fantastic. So, Mr. Schaefer, if I say that right, if I didn't, I apologize. I understand you're online. Sir, you're more than welcome to present us your deputation. We will give you 5 minutes, and if we have questions, then we'll ask the council members to ask you questions. Sir, the floor is yours. Or the mic is yours. All right, you're ready to go. Go ahead, sir. Do we have him? Just a second, please. We're just trying to find Mr. Schaefer. Sir, we'll give you your 5 minutes. Don't worry about it. I would ask of you, please, if you're not speaking, to mute your microphones, and I thank you. Mr. Ainsley, if you got any extra coffee, bring it my way.
Hello, Mr. Schaefer. Can you hear me? You should be unmuted now.
Okay, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
You're coming clear, sir. You do have 5 minutes. We're starting the clock. Please go. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the Scarborough City Council. My name is Lyle Shaver, and I live at 20 Shirley Crescent here in Scarborough. This house has been owned by Shavers for 65 years, as my parents bought back in 1965, and my wife Janet and I moved here in 2004. I have started with this introduction to show that we know this house very well. Along with the silver maple, we are asking you for permission to remove. The tree, in our minds, has become a major concern on many fronts. We worry that at any time, and especially in severe weather, some or all of the tree could break, which could inflict considerable damage to the house or cause injury to ourselves. The tree is large enough to be a concern for our neighbors as well. We also worry about water problems. The base of the tree used to be below the level of the two doors opening to the backyard, but not anymore. The base is now higher, and some of the runoff now heads back to the house, causing pools of water. One of the pictures that we submitted shows this pooling very clearly. Some of that water gets into the garage now, as the door is at ground level, and things will only get worse as time goes on. We also believe the tree is damaging the house because it is so large and is so close to the house, 3 meters, I believe. While no walls have been penetrated or pushed in as yet, we have observed a sharp increase in the number of new cracks in the house, both walls and ceilings. And these have developed. And the increase in size and length of the old ones. This house is built on good old Scarborough clay and should have stopped settling decades ago, which means some other set of forces is in play. And for us, it is the tree. Supporting evidence for us is that the pavers behind our house are heaving and rippling, and we know that the tree roots are the cause. We believe that the same root system is stressing the house. Please understand, we do not hate trees. We have 40 or more trees on the property, some young, some mature. We have submitted pictures to show the cracking that is ongoing inside, and some to let you see all the other trees we have on the property. We also submitted 2 pages of research from the internet with highlighted sections to support our position. I hope this presentation has effectively demonstrated our worries and concerns about the tree and how it is negatively affecting our lives, and that you will be able to find in our favor for its removal. Thank you.
Any questions of the deputant?
I have a couple, Councillor Ainsley.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Shaver, for making your presentation this morning. I know it's a little different for us here. Was it your parents that planted the tree?
No, the tree was probably at least 100 years old before my parents ever moved here.
Okay. And you feel that, so I guess one of the concerns that we always have with trees or have a community benefit for our tree canopy. This is quite a substantial tree, 156 centimeters in diameter. And you think the root system's pushing up against the house and causing cracks in the foundation?
I don't know for sure because I haven't done an excavation. Inside, part of it is pushing on the garage. Part of it's going to be pushing on the main part of the house in the basement. Honestly, I haven't seen any actual cracks in the walls of the foundation, but the cracks that are appearing are in the plaster of the finished walls upstairs, and in the bedrooms as well.
Sorry, that's the cracks in the plaster are upstairs?
They're in the kitchen, they're in the living room, they're in the dining room, they're in the bedrooms, they're in the hallways. I personally, when I retired in 2000, moved here. Well, the first thing I did was I painted my parents' house, and I fixed the main cracks. One of the cracks in the dining room, I completely used mud and tape and everything. And one side was great, the other side is totally visible, as if I never did it. So,
Okay, and I don't know, how old is the house? How old is your husband?
it's about 65 years old. It was built in the mid-50s.
Okay, and the cracks couldn't be from, I don't know if the last time the roof was replaced.
Oh no, the roof was replaced 15 or 20 years ago. It's definitely not that.
Okay, and then you said you think that the roots are heaving the rocking brick in your backyard?
Yeah, I think they're getting underneath the actual foundation, and as I say, that the base of the tree has probably risen 6 to 8 inches over the time that I've known the tree.
You considered re-landscaping the interlocking brick?
That's what we have, is interlocking pavers.
Yeah. But have you considered re-leveling it?
I have done it once already, and it's continuing again.
All right. Okay, those are my questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Ainsley. Any other council members have questions of the deputant? All right. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. Question?
I do have one question of my own.
Sorry, is this the deputant speaking?
Yes.
Sorry, sir, you did have your opportunity to make your statement. This is a time now.
Yeah. This is just a question.
You can't ask questions of us, sir.
Pardon?
You cannot ask questions of us. Sorry about
Okay.
it. The rules are that we ask you, you have 5 minutes, we ask you questions. If there's any more questions of members, by all means. If not, then we'll have to move to questions of staff. Thank you, sir. Greatly appreciate
Okay.
it. Thank you.
So, to Councillor Karygiannis, Councillor Thompson here. I didn't really want to ask the gentleman a question, but I was thinking, we have lots of time. We're on sort of virtual meeting.
So
I just wondered if I can ask through you, Councillor Gerrard, Chair, whether or not the homeowner could maybe just expand a little further on his concern, maybe just through an expression as opposed to a question.
I could do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's fine. By all means, sir, go ahead.
It's my understanding, we tried this a couple of years ago, and we were told that we had to wait 2 years to reapply, which we waited and have reapplied. If the 2-year situation is correct, and something happens in the next 2 years, one of the big things in today's society is liability. And I definitely wonder who is liable if something happens in the next 2 years, if I'm not able to take the tree down now, knowing the concerns that I have. So that's in the back of my mind. I don't know what my options would be. I don't know. Somebody else, I guess, would sort it out. But that is also a concern in the back of my mind, is the liability. Not only for myself, but for my neighbors, and what the cost would be. So that's you've heard it all now.
Mr. Chair, I have nothing further.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate your deputation. You can certainly stay on until we deal with the item. Questions of staff?
Councillor Ainsley?
Councillor, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Through the chair to staff. I wanted to ask about, there is a comment, one of the, I guess the second paragraph, it said, the arborist report that accompanied the application assessed the tree to be in fair condition. Is that the city's arborist or the arborist hired by the deputy?
Councillor, through the chair to you. It's Mark Ventresca. That would be the private arborist that they had hired to assess the tree before they made their application.
Okay, and then below that it says urban forestry staff inspected the tree, determined the tree is healthy and maintainable both botanically and structurally. So their arborist is saying it's in fair condition. So would your staff saying it's in better than fair condition, or would they agree with fair?
Yeah, fair's a bit of an awkward term because a lot of arborists use it when they don't want to say it's great and they don't want to say it's poor.
Yeah.
So my staff would probably agree. I mean, this tree certainly has some minor issues from our perspective, but it doesn't have any major issues that would push it off into the unhealthy category.
Okay, and Mr. Shaver made some comments about he thinks that the roots are pushing up against the house and cracking the walls, not in the basement, but plaster. Can a tree exert that much force on a house made of concrete?
Typically, no. The roots are unable to push concrete or move it in such a way. There are peculiar situations where the tree absorbs enough water out of the soil, it can change the way the clay is holding up the foundation, but those are very rare occurrences on particular types of clay. I mean, I think the biggest example we heard of that recently was the 416, 417 interchange construction in Ottawa, where they ran into this problem. It had nothing to do with trees, but it was the same problem with the soils, where if they dry out, they change their holding ability. I'm unaware whether these clays are that sort of clay.
Okay, all right, and so 156 centimeters in diameter, and it's a silver maple. On our tree catalog or inventory of trees, where would you put a silver maple? I know forestry staff aren't too fond of Norway maples, but where would you put a silver maple on a 1 to 10?
It's a solid performer. I would give it a 7. Out of 10. It's one of the backbones of our urban forest. Certainly the street trees. It's one of our dominant street trees. It is a double stem, so it's a lot larger. It looks and appears and is a lot larger than its age would indicate in many respects. I have my doubts that it's anywhere beyond 100 years at this point. Just due to the double stemming, which causes it to just be larger in general. Kind of like two trees squished together as opposed to a single tree in many respects.
Okay. But overall, your staff feel it's a healthy tree and contributing to our tree canopy, which is what we're looking for.
Yes, and we do feel that there are alternatives to the homeowner's concerns that could be addressed. I'm pretty sure that if he was to excavate along the side of his foundation, he wouldn't find the roots putting any pressure on the walls.
Okay. And in terms, and what are some of the things? So that's one thing that he could be looking at doing, and I guess you'd recommend pulling up the interlocking brick again in the backyard to putting more soil under that, or?
Interlock is a product that needs maintenance over the years. So, I mean, you will have some differential sediment amongst pavers, even installed by the best professional, on a certain timeline. And so re-leveling pavers is an expected maintenance activity of a homeowner. The tree is getting larger in that it is taking up more space than it used to, and that may impact the pavers closest to the tree. They could, instead of resetting those, just remove some of those pavers, and that would eliminate the conflict. Yeah, I mean, there's certainly open to chatting with the property owner about things to address their concerns, and we're always available for that sort of information.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any further questions of staff? I have a couple of questions, if I can. Good morning. How far is the tree away from the house?
Mr. Chair, the tree is approximately 3 meters from the house.
Is there any branches that are over the roof of the house that if there's something like an ice storm or a storm that it can break and damage the roof?
There are branches over the roof. I'm just confirming the pictures, but yes, there are branches over the roof. In a violent storm, I mean, anything can happen. In a typical storm, it should be fine.
So if the owner feels that those branches, would he be allowed to trim the branches back in order to make sure that nothing happens to the house? Would that be something that we can allow him to do?
Yeah, proper pruning is approved through the bylaw, and there's no requirement for a permit for proper pruning. Proper pruning in our minds is industry standard is no more than 25% of the existing tree canopy, so that gives you quite a bit of latitude to focus on the branches that are of greatest concern. We always recommend a professional because you don't want to do something to the tree in the pruning process that would cause it to be less safe.
Thank you. I'm going to confess that I'm not a tree expert, but although trees, we should protect them and preserve them throughout the years. But if a tree is, let's say, doing damage to the house, wouldn't it be at the foundation level that the damage is done and not on the upper levels? I mean, you will see cracks on the wall. You will see a shift in the foundation. Would that be not correct? I mean, seeing cracks on the second floor or the first floor, you have to have some evident damage to the foundation. Would that be correct, Mr. Renkestra?
Yeah, so you would need to, the foundation would have to be impacted in some way, and that foundation impact could translate up to cracks on the second floor quite easily. So if you do have the foundation shifting, so if one corner of the foundation is sinking, which is usually the case in most cases where you've got issues, then you would get cracks in the upper levels I certainly
Okay.
have those in my 110-year-old house, and it continues throughout the lifespan of the house.
Have yourself or one of your staff seen the inside foundation? Have you looked at the inside to see if there was any shifting on the foundation? Was there any evidence of that?
I don't believe staff have gone in the house. The property owner has provided us with photos of the cracks, I believe, in his kitchen and in his upstairs area in the plaster. He was unable to provide us with any pictures of damage to the foundation. I think a recommendation, of course, is if somebody's very concerned about that, and excavation and waterproofing is usually not a bad thing to do with a house, but that's certainly their call. That would show, excavating is the proof. Whenever I've had issues with houses and concerns about foundations, the final proof is if you can excavate and show the roots are causing a problem, we can issue a permit. But and then it's been 9.9 times out of 10, excavation shows that there's almost no interaction between the two.
Thank you, appreciate it. Any further questions of staff? All right, speakers.
Councillor Ainsley?
Councillor Ainsley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I want to thank Mr. Shaver for coming in this morning. Dealing with trees is probably one of our most common things that we have to deal with. I am going to be moving the recommendations in the report that deny the application. I understand the concerns that Mr. Shaver has, but I've also listened to what our staff has had to say, our professional forestry staff that work very hard for our community to ensure our tree canopy. I've had issues in the community before with trees, and I always point to the manual that our forestry department published, which it's called Every Tree Counts. And we have a tree here that's a silver maple, 156 centimeters in diameter. I do encourage Mr. Shaver to reach out to our forestry staff to see what can be done to alleviate some of his concerns. But at this point, I really think that the community benefits for this tree are outweighing the individual concerns. So I'll be supporting the recommendations in the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ainsley. Any further speakers on the issue? Okay, all those in favor of moving staff recommendations? Hand opposed? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. Okay, we're going back to item, I believe we have 15.1. Councillor Thompson and Councillor Crawford, Golden Mile Secondary Plan Study Status Report, and you asked, we do have a staff presentation, I believe. So if we can have... can I ask staff, please, if you're online, do we have a presentation? Or are you speaking to it? Mr. Giuliani, you're there with us. Can we unmute Paul? Hi, good morning, Mr. Giuliani.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of Community Council. We have a verbal presentation available, which will be given by Emily Caldwell, our senior planner who led this initiative. Emily, please take it away.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Perfect. So through you, Mr. Chair, just to provide a bit of explanation of why the status report is before you today. The reason that we wanted to post secondary plan policies in advance of the statutory meeting in July is to provide the public with a bit more time to review the materials, given the current health situation and also the virtual format of the meeting. So I can provide a bit of background in terms of where things are at with the study itself is now complete, and what city planning staff are bringing forward in July on the 17th will be the final report with those policies, those secondary plan policies for consideration by Scarborough Community Council. The secondary plan boundaries are Victoria Park and O'Connor in the west, Birchmount Road in the east, Ashtonby Road and the High Corridor in the north, and the south side of Eglinton in the south. Those are the general boundaries. And the study area, or now the Golden Mile secondary plan area, is 113 hectares, most of which is in Councillor Thompson and Crawford's wards, 20 and 21. And there's a 4.3 hectare portion that is on the west side of Victoria Park Avenue within Ward 16 in the North York District. The secondary plan establishes a planning framework for future development in the Golden Mile area and sets out the long-term vision for a complete, livable, connected, responsive, and prosperous mixed-use community. And I will provide a few sort of high-level statistics just in terms of what the plan would result in, and it has the potential to generate. So as I mentioned, the plan area is 113 hectares, which is approximately 280 acres. There are approximately 53 landowners within the plan area, and the plan envisions a total gross floor area of approximately 2.6 million square meters. That would translate to approximately 24,000 residential units and approximately 43,000 people. The plan has the potential also to generate 19,500 jobs, some of which would be replacement jobs of what are existing in the area. And the plan could also accommodate more than 60 tall buildings and more than 70 mid-rise buildings as currently envisioned. In terms of the vision and guiding principles, I won't go through everything at this point. A more detailed presentation can certainly be provided for that statutory meeting on July 17th, unless there are further questions from the members, of course. But just to reiterate what the vision and guiding principles are, so it's to provide a balance of uses supported by community services. There will be an improved network of parks and open spaces to invite residents, workers, and visitors to explore and interact within neighborhoods. And the plan area will be both a community and a destination, providing for daily needs of all its residents, where people can live, work, shop, and play, while maintaining its role as an important economic driver within the east end of Toronto, excuse me. And the guiding principles for the plan area, again, are that we're seeking to create a complete and livable community, a connected community, responsive community, a prosperous community, and a resilient community. So I think I'll leave it there unless there are further questions. I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions of staff?
Yes, Mr. Chair, good morning and thank you. And thank you very much, Emily, for the great presentation. It's very helpful in terms of setting the table. And I know that we will be dealing with this matter at length, so I won't prolong it other than just simply to ask a couple of questions. The first one is relating to the ongoing discussions that are taking place with landowners. The basis of the study report on the secondary plan, you're using the formation of that in terms of the consideration and discussion that's going on now with a number of the, I would use the term open application, is that correct?
That is correct. There are 10 sites that have active development applications.
And then my next question is with respect to the conversation that's happening with the community in terms of community benefits, additionally with respect to the advisory body that's been struck to provide input and advice, how are both those elements of this process going? Is there satisfactory response back from the community in terms of that things are going according to their expectations and plan, realizing that's a secondary plan study and that could be somewhat separate in terms of the meetings, but the basis of those meetings is conditional on the discussion that's happening and the work that's being done with the secondary plan.
Yes, I would say on the whole that there's general support of the priorities that have been identified for community services and facilities. At this point, it is still very high level. Of course, we can't go into all of the detail in terms of site because that tends to happen at a later stage anyway, but generally there is support, yes. And we have reviewed the plan again. I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No, sorry, I perhaps was interjecting there, my apologies. Go ahead. So,
I was going to say that we received feedback on the draft policies that were presented during the proposals report stage back in January, and we have incorporated some of those comments where we felt it was appropriate into the version that you see before you today.
Okay. Thank you very much. Those are my questions based on your presentation, and thank you for the presentation. Those are all my questions.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Emily. Any further questions of staff? All right. Seeing that there's no further questions of staff, Councillor Thompson.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And I will move the recommendations. Basically, it is to be, in essence, hosting a meeting July 17th, I think the date is. This is an exciting opportunity for this area. Golden Mile is a storied area in our community. It has such history, and we are considering that history as part of the build-out. As you've heard, Ms. Caldwell has indicated that we're expecting to have 43,000 people eventually living in this area, 19,000 jobs, some of the ones that are there now, lots of new jobs and community benefits. There is a lot of work that's actually being done. I'm really excited about what's taking place, some of the ongoing discussions that are taking place now, looking at the element of affordability, affordable housing, the opportunities in terms of innovation hubs and tech hubs and things like that, in collaboration with all of the different concerns of the community and community space. We're quite excited about that, and I think that the number of new parks that will be brought into the area is also quite exciting. So I'm looking forward to a further discussion that will take place on the 17th, but I simply want to close by thanking Ms. Caldwell and all the planning staff, everyone for the outstanding work and leading this process, because it's been ongoing for quite some time. And I think that there's a real expectation and excitement for the community with respect to what's going to happen here. And I would simply say that the staff have led this process in a way that has been really meaningful, helpful, and also very educational to the community. So my hats off to them and thank them for the brief explanation and presentation that we've seen today. I don't know if Councillor Crawford has anything to say, but if he doesn't, I can move the recommendations on behalf of, I guess, us at the end of the day.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Any further speaker? Councillor Crawford?
Yeah, I'd like to just speak very briefly, and of course in support of Councillor Thompson's status report movement. This will be the gateway to Scarborough. All of us, represent areas of Scarborough, and we see the development and the growth that has taken place all across the city, but also in Scarborough. This, I think, will be one of those, whether it's 10 years, 15 years, as we build out, one of those gateway projects. It is incredibly exciting. Staff have led, as Councillor Thompson said, an amazing process, even prior to me representing a little that area. But it's been, a very open, transparent process. I think the community are, by and large, very, very supportive of this, recognizing some of the opportunities that are coming, whether it's affordable housing, as he's mentioned, tech hubs, the green space, all of that. I think they're looking at this as a real opportunity. And I think the consultation and the comments coming back from the community have been very, as I said, supportive, but also looking at the kind of changes that we need when we're looking at the community enhancements. And I think that's one of the bigger concerns is when you look at changes, ensuring that we provide the right kind of community enhancements, and that has been coming on. There are still a few more questions, and I'll be pleased to be part of the July 7th or July 17th meeting. But I know, as I said, we've been very responsive to those needs in the community. But this will be, when you look at the numbers, 43,000 people in this particular area, 60 tall, 70 mid-rise buildings. This area will change, absolutely. But I think for the better of Scarborough and for the city. So I'm absolutely have been supportive all along. And I'm looking forward to the next step, which is community consultation, which is July 7th, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other further speakers? All right, seeing no further speakers, we do have a motion to move staff recommendation by Councillor Thompson. Are all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Our next item is SC 15.3, 1940 Lawrence Avenue East, zoning amendment application preliminary report. Councillor Thompson, you held the item down.
I did. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So my question, yes, before I ask a question, I don't have a lot of familiarity with this particular application. I've heard about it and I've read the report and so on, but about, I'd say 7 years ago, we did an avenue study with respect to this area. I understand as part of the report, this is an 11-story development. Is that correct?
Not sure, Chair. Are you asking questions of staff?
Yes.
Okay, please.
I thought that's what we were doing. Yes, it's question of staff, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Staff?
Oh, good morning.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to direct this to the planner handling the file. If you could take it away, Rod.
Hello, Mr. Chair. It's through the chair.
Jeffrey?
Thank you.
Yes. Thanks.
Doesn't sound like it.
This is Jeffrey Sinclair, planner in the section handling this file. The application, actually the study that you were referring to was approved by council back in 2008. This application has come in asking for additional height and density within that same area.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure, because I knew that the height and was much lower. And so then, can I then ask you then, with respect to what's being approved, what's being asked, it's 90 units. What portion of those units are affordable as defined by our regulations and our policy?
The applicant had not gone into very much detail in the application submissions with respect to the kind of affordability that they were intending to propose and the feasibility of that affordability. I think through the development review process, we'll get further details. There's all kinds of models out there and everyone is using the term affordable housing. So some of that detail is yet to be disclosed, but there wasn't an intention explicitly stated in the rationale that was provided, stating that they were going to be looking at affordable housing units if possible.
Okay, that's great. Okay, thank you very much. And obviously, what we're doing right now is looking at setting up a community meeting. Mr. Chair, I would like to ask though that staff that we extend the notice area. I would say 400 meters, and so I'd like to maybe just amend recommendation number 2 from 120 meters to 400 meters.
An additional 400 meters or 400 meters inclusive?
Well, it would be inclusive.
Okay. I'm just getting a nod from the staff.
I mean, I don't know if I need to speak to
No,
indicate that, but those are all my
Okay.
questions
We're
at this
good?
time.
Okay, that's fine. Any further questions of staff? Okay. Councillor Thompson, do you need to go back again, or 400 meters is your recommendation? I think we're good to go, if that's okay. Can I ask for a show of hands of support of the Councillor Thompsons? Councillor Ainsley? Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. All those in favor, passed. Opposed, carried. All right, our next item is SC 15.4, 1960 Eglinton Avenue East, official plan amendment application preliminary report. It was held down by Councillor Thompson. Councillor, do you have questions of staff?
I do, Mr. Chair. I wonder if staff could just give me a brief overview. I have read the report. I understand, but I think it would be helpful to have an explanation as to exactly what they're doing. So we have a structure on site now. Is that structure going to be demolished and then the development of 2 additional structures? Is that what's going to take place there?
Mr. Chairman, Emily Caldwell, the planner on this file, will answer those questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Through you, Mr. Chair. The proposal is to demolish the existing building, Cosmetica building at 1960 Eglinton Avenue East, and to create 2 development blocks. So the new employment uses would be on the northern block with frontage onto Ashtonby, and then there would be a mixed-use development on the southern block with frontage onto Eglinton.
So a combination of residential and then the manufacturing will take place there?
That's correct. The employment use is on the north side.
Right. And how many towers are they proposing to place there?
Towers? Just give me one moment.
I mean, I see the plans here, but it looks like
I want to say it's 5, but let me just be sure. 1, 2, 3, 4. Judging by I'm just looking at the image, which is 4.5. An attachment 2, what I'm seeing is 5, and that is what my memory is telling me at the moment, which is a bit fuzzy at times, but I shouldn't say that on camera. I'll hear about it later. So it's 5 towers, but some of them would share a base building.
Okay. Wow. Okay. And what about compatibility there? I mean, right now they make cosmetics products and so on. Is that I know it's a mixed use area as part of the zoning there, but what about the compatibility? I mean, is there the issue around trucks and noise and vibrations and so on? Are we concerned about that as part of this application?
Part of the submission requirements involve a land use compatibility and mitigation study. So that would be in relation to both what's proposed on site and also in relation to the employment uses north of Ashtonby. Because the landowner would now be introducing sensitive land uses to the site in proximity to the employment areas north of Ashtonby. And it would also, so we city planning have asked for some consideration to be given to the on-site conditions as well between those employment uses in the new building on that north block and the sensitive uses on the southern block. So that is being reviewed as part of this application.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions of staff? Okay, speakers. Councillor Thompson, you held the item.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, this really, I can move the recommendations in the item here, but I just simply wanted to say that as we focus on building out the Golden Mile, and the question I asked of Ms. Caldwell about compatibility and so on, that's going to be a big issue going forward. And I know that staff will obviously address these issues, but I think this is, again, it's really exciting in terms of the transformation that's going to occur in this area. And in as much as we're excited about the transformation, I want to be mindful and ensure that we're all very mindful about the protecting the integrity of the surrounding area. Of course, we're excited about the crosstown coming in. It is as a result of crosstown, while we're seeing this real interest in development that's taking place. So it goes to show and demonstrate a correlation between transit infrastructure built in order to create opportunities for that area of Scarborough, which has a strong history, but has been quite delayed in its development and so on. So I'm excited and looking forward to the collaboration and working with my councillor colleague to the south, Councillor Crawford and staff. And so I want to move this, but clearly as we build these, expand on these development and looking to approve these developments, we have to be mindful. And I just want everybody to know that we are going to obviously go through a rigorous process to ensure that we consider the impact. And while we love the opportunity of the investment and so on, we're mindful of the impact. So again, I want to thank staff and Ms. Caldwell for the outstanding work that she has done and the team of planners, the work that they've done. So I can move this, and I'm looking forward to obviously the transformation that's going to take place. And just the last thing I want to say, and so for those who may be watching us on YouTube or wherever they're watching, to say that we are mindful of the jobs that are in the community, and we want to protect and keep those jobs in addition to expanding and developing the mixed use opportunity in the area, so that people can, you know, live close to work and live in an environment where there is better transit, high order, and so on, which is coming as part of the crosstown development. Those are my comments at this time, Mr. Chair, and I can move the staff recommendation.
Thank you. Any further speakers on the item? Seeing none, I do have Councillor Thompson's motion to move staff recommendation. All those in favor? Against? Carried. 30 seconds, please. We need to move bills. I will, since I'm here, if you guys are okay, I'll read them and I'll move them. That Scarborough Community Council pass and declare as bylaw 418 prepared for the June 19th, 2020 meeting 15 of the Community Council. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Number 2, that the Scarborough Community Council pass and declare as bylaw a confirmatory bill to confirm the legislative proceedings of the Scarborough Community Council acting under delegated authority at meeting 15 of June 19, 2020. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, everyone. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please? Councillor Ainsley, is that your favorite word? Thank you, everybody. Stay safe.
Everybody stay safe while everyone.
And everyone.
To everybody watching us, have a happy Canada Day.
Can you call me?
Thank you. Take care, everybody. Happy Canada Day.
Happy Canada Day. Thank you, Mr.
Canada
Chair.
Day.
Take care. And everybody.